saying out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode.
Yeah, I'm wearing my yellow shirt. Gonna make it really hurt. I don't know when, but then again, when did you start to like men? Fuck, why did we turn gay already today? On a Tuesday, getting litty, titty, shitty, bang, bang. Day, maybe, just Tuesday, maybe into Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have no direction with this song again. Fuck a beat, we'll go acapella on a Tuesday. Too much echo on a Tuesday. Not enough echo on a Tuesday. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday. Alright? Litty titty Tuesday. Okay? We're all over the spectrum of sexuality. Spectrum of sexuality, ladies and gentlemen. We're all over it. You can't cancel me. I'm uncancelable. Okay? Love is a spectrum, baby. Everything's on a spectrum nowadays. You know? It just is what it is. You gotta cross your X's and dot your O's. Huh? You never know. You never know what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great weekend. I had a fine one myself. Friends came in to visit for the weekend. Great times. Nice to unwind. Nice to get away for the weekend. All right? For the frickin' weekend. Times change. Times change as you get older. It's no longer about getting litty titty Tuesday in a club. Dude, Tuesdays used to be my day. In college, we would go out. Tuesdays were the days. Thursdays, Fridays, I don't give a shit. Saturdays, Sundays, there was something I'd get into every day of the week. I remember I was having some trouble sleeping, and I had to go for a checkup at the school nurse, Auga. And I had to write down in this little thing how often I was drinking a week. And I marked down 5 to 6 times a week. And she went, no. I don't mean how many drinks you have a week. How many nights a week? And I wrote 5 to 6 nights a week. And she literally put her clipboard down and goes, okay, we need to talk about this. And then started preaching to me about why I was drinking way too much and about alcoholism and if it was in my family or anything like that. And she knew it was falling on deaf ears with the deafness, okay? Because I was like, listen, I don't have a problem. I'm just a 21-year-old dude, okay? A 21-year-old fuckboy at the time, you know? You got to know who you are in this world, okay? And I would just get after it, fuckboy style. I don't even know what a fuckboy really is, but you just say you are one just to avoid it, you know? That's just what it comes down to. But in that same nursing session when this person was reading me my rights about alcoholism, she had to, I think it's one of those things that if it's a young man, you have to tell them and teach them how to check themselves for testicular cancer. She couldn't give me a brochure, nothing like that. She had to tell me how to get my balls in my hands. I said, listen, woman, no one knows my balls better than me. All right? No one knows these, what's a mid-sized bird? Nah, quail eggs too small. We'll go goose egg. Why not? All right? Goose eggs are probably way too big. I probably would have a tumor if that was the case. Anyway. And she was telling me how they should be feeling smooth, like eggs. And I literally laughed out loud. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're not going to acknowledge that this is weird that you just told me my balls should feel smooth as eggs. She couldn't take it serious. Neither could I. And you know what? I appreciated that. But we're doing good. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time on the podcast, welcome. Welcome. If you don't know, now you know. Who said that? I never regret that. drinking 5 or 6 times a week. On a school night, I might get too drunk, black out and start a fight. Who said that? All those times where I blacked out and made bad decisions, I regret that. I remember when the first time I got drunk in high school, it was after seeing a movie. We went to this girl and she house and she had a pool, and I backflipped into her pool naked cause I didn't think it was real life. Who said that? Backflipped into the pool naked, I blacked out. It is what it is at this point, ladies and gentlemen. All right? I don't regret that. I don't. It's your first time drinking. I remember first time drinking, I really didn't think. I remember literally saying out loud, is this a real? Because it felt like I was just in a commercial. Like I felt like I was just watching life happen. And it was so fucking cliche of like young people being like, woo, and drinking and everything. And I was like, my life's a movie, you know? That's what it felt like. And someone dared me to do a backflip naked into the pool. And you know what? Your boy obliged. I'll never back down from a challenge. Your boy's a gambler. Do I regret that? Maybe. Was it a shallow pool? That could have been the end of my story right there. Right there. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you cool cats and kittens do. All right? Great weekend. Listen, something big happened this weekend. It was the Spider-Man release. Spider-Man No Way Home. Is it a cinematic masterpiece? It depends on what your opinion of cinema is. There's a lot of bougie people that don't think the superhero genre belongs in the same sentence as cinema. Unless you're saying superhero movies are not cinema, then it is quite appropriate. Okay? I found Spider-Man, and listen, there's going to be some spoiler alerts, all right? Spoiler alerts for the next few minutes about the Spider-Man movie. You know what? Let's save the Spider-Man movie for the end of the podcast so people can check out if they don't want to hear anything about Spider-Man, okay? It's from another fam. Yep, that's me rewinding. What else happened this weekend? Your boy got his deer back. All right, I took my deer to a butcher last week to have it processed. Basically, I skinned the deer. I skinned the deer. I quartered it up, meaning I cut it into fours, pretty much, and I brought it in. I cut the back straps out, which are a tender piece of meat out of its back, and everything else I just took to the butcher, and they processed it for me. It's pretty normal to do, unless you have a lot of experience. And the right equipment, you can process your meat yourself. I'm not at that level. Eventually, I would like to get to that level, but for now, I take it to a butcher. They took the deer and they basically had a few options that I could do. I ended up getting some steaks and sausage, chili meat, and ground venison, which I don't know what the difference between chili meat and ground venison is, but I hope to find out and I will educate you guys. Anyway, I don't know if I talked about it, but I made the back straps last week. Goddamn delicious. All right, goddamn delicious. There's something, and I had the sausage and a steak last night. Gonna eat some sausage after this. There's something about harvesting meat yourself. Giggity. It just, you feel good about it. You feel right. You feel like you're on the right path. Okay? And it's extremely healthy. I know where this deer came from. I know that it was eating an all organic diet. Okay? I know what's going into my body. I know what this goddamn deer looked like. That can't be said for the hamburger you go get from the store. That can't be said for the chicken that you get. You don't see a chicken. We become like so detached from meat and where our food comes from. We just go to the grocery store and we just trust these motherfuckers. They don't wipe it on their asshole before they put the fucking carrot out. All right? They didn't just just credit card check themselves up the booty with a carrot. All right? We got no No idea what happened in the back. We don't know what all these deer were or cows were eating, all these chickens, pretty much slave animals, which is insane to me. And I'm not preaching. It sounds like I'm preaching, might be preaching, but it's like, what I push back on is when people think that hunting is cruel or something like that. It's the best thing that you can do for an animal. If you're going to eat meat, the best thing you can do is harvest it yourself. And that's what my whole goal is to eventually get completely off factory farming, just eating meat and fish that I harvest, and then same thing with vegetables and fruit. I would love to get to that point where I get off of that. That might be a little more hard for me because I'm not much of a gardener. If you followed my journey in 2020 where I was trying to grow a garden, your boy don't have that green thumb. Whatever the opposite of green is, that's me. But I loved having my own food, like knowing where it came from and knowing that I did this. It also makes me appreciate it because I know what the animal looked like. I just keep repeating myself, but it just makes me appreciate it. But that's what's been going on, ladies and gentlemen. We had another big thing this weekend. Something kind of crazy. There was a big fight. There was the UFC fight. Derek Lewis got the most knockouts in UFC history, becoming the knockout champ, the king, the all-time record holder for the most KOs. Shout out to Derek Lewiston. I literally was going to say Lewis from Houston. Derek Lewis from Houston. Houston boy. All right. He got the most knockouts in the UFC. Another fight happened, which is crazy. It's a spectacle, and it fascinates me. We had Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. All right. A boxing match, a rematch. If you follow it at all, Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley before in a decision, which they had a rematch. It wasn't intended to be a rematch. Jake Paul was going to fight Tommy Fury, who is Tyson Fury, the world heavyweight champion of the world, boxing's little brother, Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury got injured, allegedly, 2 weeks before the fight, had to pull out. Tyron Woodley stepped in on 2 weeks' notice. He said he was already training, but he looked in shape. I'll give him that. They were having a rematch. I wasn't too excited to see the rematch because we had already seen it. It was kind of lackluster. Tyron Woodley, has had an amazing career as a UFC fighter, accomplished everything you can accomplish. UFC champ. I think he was a 5-time UFC champ. Dude, to even become a 1-time champ, to be in the UFC top 10 in what I think is the second most stacked division possible, 170. 170 and 155, in my opinion, are the most stacked divisions in the UFC. Why? Because genetically, I think most men fall into that 155 to 170 category size-wise. So it's a much more competitive pool because that's where there's the most of people. But anyway, the point I'm making is that Tyron Woodley, I believe, is 40 years old. 40 years old. And still, at that point, he still looks great. In the last fight they had, it didn't feel like he was pulling the trigger, and maybe he just wasn't able to. Time is a motherfucker, and it catches up to all of us. And it kind of feels like we saw that a little bit. And that's not taking away from what happened in the fight. Jake Paul ended up knocking out Tyron Woodley in, I believe, the 6th round, I want to say, where it was a very boring fight leading up to that. There were some shots landed. I had Tyron Woodley winning, but he just dropped his hand, and Jake Paul placed a perfect right hand, put all of his power into it. Shout out to him for reading what Tyron Woodley was doing. He kind of faked to the body. Tyron Woodley dropped his hand. Bam. Good night. Hit him clean. Hit him out. Highlight reel knockout. I think it's fascinating what's happening here. For one, you have a sport, and it's something that I look at all the time. I wonder about this kind of stuff because I always kind of buck traditional shit. People want to put limits and parameters on people who break out of the norm and they do things their own way. What is it called when I can't think of the term right now, but people who disrupt a normal way of doing things. That's what I think Jake Paul is doing. Whether you like his personality, whatever, I think a lot of it's just an online personality of trolling and everything like that. I don't know anything about him personally. He could be a great person. But if you look at what he's doing is pretty amazing. Just from a sense of being able to disrupt the norm. I look at this a lot because I think with stand-up and entertainment, it's easy to get lost in the mix of it, to fall in line of these traditional ways of doing things that are pretty hard and overcrowded. It's something that I've had to learn the hard way of breaking out and deciding to do my own thing. There's a lot of crowded paths in stand-up. The traditional way, you spend years and years and years going to open mics, scrounging around, just hoping that someone's going to take you on the road, someone's going to see you. Especially early on, everybody was just trying to get a TV show. Everybody was trying to get on this, and then you could tour. You're trying to get credits. And there's this idea of this is the way you do it. You just need to grind. And granted, that will get you there. But there are a lot of comedians that never, ever, ever make it big by going that route. There's a lot of them. A lot of people can tell jokes. A lot of people can do what you have to do on stage, but they can't do the business side. They can't do the podcast route. They can't trailblaze at all. And that's what I'm trying to focus on now. I still get on stage as much as I can, but I'm working on the other aspects at the same time. I want to build an audience. I want to be able to tour with it. I want to be able to put out more content, more short films, funny stuff online. Because it'd be stupid for someone to not invest in a digital audience right now. There's a lot of people that are still going, no, I'm just going to show up on stage and be funny, and that's what I am. I'm a pure artist. Nah, you dumb. Like, it doesn't work like that. If you want to only do that, and you don't care about, the rest of everything else, that's fine. Do you. That's the thing, is I don't care if people only want to focus on that and they just want to be an assassin on stage. That's great. But there's a lot of people saying that you can't do the digital route, that you should come up the traditional way of doing this and doing that. Everything's changing. Entertainment is changing. A lot of the industry that everybody relied on years ago is gone. Hollywood is few and far between, and you got to do your own shit, and you got to find other ways. And I think entertainment's even going to change more. This is the crazy fucking thing. It's going to keep changing. I think Netflix, I think HBO, I think all of these, YouTube, all these big conglomerates are going to change even more into live streaming. I think touring and doing all this stuff is going to change in the next 5 years a lot. I think we're going to have new forms of entertainment, new forms of interactive entertainment. And I just think that's where I think it's going. And my whole point being, wrapping this back to the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley thing, what fascinates me, this is the correlation, is that Jake Paul didn't take the normal route that a boxer takes. And it comes down to the same thing. There are thousands and thousands, maybe millions of very, very, very talented boxers who never make it onto a televised card. They spend their entire career just on the undercard. They don't talk. They don't have any presence online, but they fight their fucking ass off. and they're warriors, and it's respectable. But this is prize fighting. This is the fight business. It's sad that it's not. I always wish the world was perfect. I wish there was a barometer, there was some kind of scale where it's like the exact work that you put in pays off. You get that exact amount back. But it pays off, and it's a different setup though. It's necessarily, you have to look at the world and where things are and work smart and be able to capitalize on those things. You go to some gyms and they're the most amazing fighters you've ever seen, and they never make it anywhere. They're broke, and they never have a big breakout. And it all comes down to making yourself marketable and everything. And that's something I think in entertainment that is missed a lot, is people only want to do one area of something and focus on that, which should be enough. It's hard. But that's not the name of the game. That's not what makes money, and that's not that's not the currency of the world right now. Because that might have worked back in the 80s and the 90s, but it doesn't work anymore. And I don't even think what's working now is going to work in 10, 15 years. All that being said is that I really thought it's interesting what's happening, because Jake Paul, a lot of people hate on him. I know nothing about these people in real life, but from a disrupting standpoint and me being entrepreneur in that mindset, I think it's great. What's happening is showing other ways to do this, because what a lot of people don't realize, and I have some experience in the fight game, from training people to competing, managing, there is nothing worse than the fight game. It's a dirty business. Dirty business, and fighters get taken advantage of all the time. All the time. These sleazy promoters, matchmakers, there's always something bad happening. And I think the more that you can create independence, it's the same thing with record labels. It's the same thing with Hollywood, where you have these fucks like Weinstein. You have these people who take advantage. The more independence you can bring to individuals within this, the better it is for everyone. The more ways of doing business, the better it is for everyone. And that's why I commend on this. When I start seeing like people being able to start slowly creating their own promotions, people starting to create their own revenue streams, you love to see it. You love to see it. But as for the actual fight, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, where do we go from here? Jake Paul is looking to fight more UFC fighters, and it's smart. I don't know what he weighs. It's probably somewhere in the 170s to 180s is what he's weighing in at. Could Jake Paul fight a pro boxer his own size and weight? I'm sure he could in some ways. I'm sure he could fight some amateur boxers and do okay. I mean, the amateurs are, depending on the experience level. He's still an amateur fighter. That's the thing, is he's still an amateur fighter. And up until this knockout, he had only fought people who didn't have a boxing resume. And here's the truth. Tyron Woodley doesn't have a boxing resume. Going into this fight, he is 0-1. He is 0-1. Boxing is much different than MMA. There's punches involved in MMA. It's much different. Everything about it is different, from the stance, the way you throw punches, the way you move, the distance, what you can do, what you're comfortable with, especially coming from a lifetime of wrestling and MMA. And it doesn't mean that Tyron Woodley doesn't have hands. It just means that he doesn't have them for boxing. And he did okay. He did good up until he got knocked out. But would Jake Paul do good against someone with more boxing experience? I don't know. We have to see it. He knocked out an NBA player who had zero experience. I think he beat a guy before that. He knocked out Ben Askren. These are all older guys that don't have a lot of boxing experience. And it's not a bad thing. He doesn't have a lot of boxing experience, but he's getting better and he has knockout power. I would love to see him. The Tommy Fury fight I thought was actually going to be a great test because Tommy Fury is a traditional boxer. He has knockout power. He's fast. He's going to be able to jab. He's going to be able to move around. He's not going to be awkward and uncomfortable on his feet. Tyron Woodley was reaching a lot rather than getting there with his feet. But I'm interested to see who he fights next. But from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't seem like he wants to fight a boxer. I think who he wants to fight is going to be more MMA guys. More MMA guys. Keep getting that experience and just moving like that. Keep training. I know he was going after Masvidal, Nate Diaz, Usman. I think Usman knocks him out, though. Usman is a prime champion. I don't think Dana White would ever go for that, but we'll see. I doubt that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something else, huh? I've given you enough spoiler alerts, ladies and gentlemen. Spider-Man No Way Home. If you haven't seen Spider-Man and you don't want the spoilers, get out now. Okay, because we're about to spoil the shit out of Spider-Man No Way Home. A cinematic masterpiece. Depends on who you're asking. Spider-Man No Way Home is a beautiful movie. Okay? It does something to the little kid in me. Okay? They did a crossover that has never been done in cinematic history. And they did it in a great way. Listen, Marvel is known for its wonderful crossovers. What they did with Endgame, beautiful. The amount of superheroes in it, just the long game that they played from the first Iron Man movie all the way to Endgame. Amazing. Okay? Spider-Man No Way Home did something even bigger. They crossed over with all three Spider-Man characters. From Tobey Maguire to Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. It was amazing. The storyline, great. All the action, great. But what was great for me is it felt like a love letter to Spider-Man fans. Okay? It felt like they knew what Spider-Man fans wanted. They know about the memes. They recreated memes and kind of winked at the audience the whole time. And they did everything in a great way. To have three different characters of movies that came before crossover, it's actually, you know what? The most ambitious crossover of all time was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers. I got to take that back. They did that shit way before it was cool. But to see Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland on screen together, all as their own characters, was beautiful. Made my willy tingle, gave me goosebumps. It was great. And I'll be honest with you, I think Andrew Garfield never got the rub he deserved. I've watched those Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies before. I watched them years after they came out. I had completely dismissed them because I was dumb and I was like, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Who is this fuck boy? But after watching, I went back, started watching the Andrew Garfield ones again, and then also seeing him in this movie. I'm gonna say something very is your from a nipper fam. Yep. What is the word I'm looking at? It starts with a C. It's not complicated. Controversial. Words are hard for me sometimes, and you guys know that, and how dare you? How dare you? I think Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man we've had. There, I said it. I think he stole the movie. He had the greatest lines, the greatest moment, the greatest emotions. I like Tom Holland. He seems like a nice chap. He captures a boyish Spider-Man personality. I'll give him that. But as far as who Spider-Man is, I feel like Andrew Garfield embodies that the best. He took what they gave him to work with and he smashed it. He smashed it. They're all great for their own reasons. Tobey Maguire, nostalgic. There's no one that gets more mad at paparazzi than Tobey Maguire. He has these death stares when he even sees paparazzi. All right? God forbid you try to block his car when he's trying to leave and he can't see the road. There's a video of him fucking having enough. Get out of the fucking way. I can't see anything. Literally losing his shit. But he did great in those first 2 Spider-Man movies. Listen, Spider-Man 3, it was tough. It was tough when they did that weird shit with him, with his black eyeliner, and they fucking waved his hair to the side and kind of shit. And he had that weird montage where he was doing these weird little dances. I think this killed it for him. When he was doing these dances where he was like rolling his hips and doing this weird hand shit. It was like Dad Spider-Man. That's who it was. It was Spider Dad. All right. But other than that, I thought those first couple Spider-Man movies were great. I feel like the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire had the best origin story. I think the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans were the best movies. And Tom Holland obviously just has the best universe. It's hard to compare them when they're from different areas. Obviously, special effects and writing and producing and everything has gotten bigger. It's not as fair to compare Tom Holland because he has access to all these Marvel characters and crossovers. It's a bit bigger of a world. But I think when you put them 3 in a scene together, Andrew Garfield steals it. I think he's just the best actor. Okay? As Spider-Man. That's not to take shots at Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland. They're both good in their own rights. All right? They're both good in their own rights. If you want to see some great acting, go watch Andrew Garfield in Hacksaw Ridge. Phenomenal. Okay? It was great. But ladies and gentlemen, we have talked about this long enough. Go see Spider-Man No Way Home if you haven't. Tell me what you thought if you have seen it. Who is your favorite Spider-Man? All right? Where do you think Tyron Woodley goes after that Jake Paul knockout? Do you enjoy hunting? If you could hunt anything, what would it be? If there was no consequences. Man, that's who I'd hunt. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to these special holiday episodes. We're going to be celebrating the holidays till the end of the year. But for now, I will see you on Thursday. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend or an enemy, depending on how you feel about this podcast. Remember, no matter what, I still love you.